Okay, so we're going to start designing our first cube, our first project, which is the dice. And if you've played, everyone's played with dice before, so you know what they look like. We're going to make our die all the same, okay, in terms of the size, but we are going to customize it. So I'm going to allow you to customize it, and then you'll send me your final design, and I'll actually 3D print it for you. So it'll be your first sort of customized 3D printed, 3D design part that gets 3D printed, which is super cool. So you'll be super proud of yourself when you accomplish this design. So what I'm going to do is take you through the steps. So our die is going to be all the same. When it's going to be 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So it's going to be a cube, and perfect cube. That's 20 millimeters in size. So here's what you do to get started. So the first tool you're going to go to is, generally speaking, is going to be always a sketch. So you'll notice there's some tools here that allow you to create a sketch and then create an extrude or a solid. We're going to be using those two tools in a moment. There's also some other ones. You can create surfaces, so you can create other features like holes. You can actually click on here and it brings up a bunch of other things, like you can make coils, like helixes, donuts, toruses, spheres, cylinders, just a regular box. You could create a box, okay, but that's kind of cheating because you'll see why in a minute. And then hole, we're going to use that tool. Webbing, if we're making a part that could potentially be kind of flimsy, so webbing adds some ribs and thicknesses. Lofting or surfaces, very useful to make sort of freeform shapes. Sweeping along a path. So there's a lot of cool like things in here. And don't get all like I mean get super excited about it, but don't worry about a lot of these features because the basics are the basics still. Okay. So and then there's a bunch of other things like tools, different tools to modify or shape the models. We're going to use some of these, one of these anyways. And then there's some assembles and construct anyways. So all we really need right now is sketch. So we're going to click this button and you'll see that at this point it's saying, okay, well, which plane do you want to sketch? So remember there's X, Y, and Z, okay? And we basically want to sketch on it doesn't really matter which plane we choose, but I'm going to pick this plane down here. So we're going to sketch on the X and Y plane, okay? And as soon as I click on it, you'll notice the screen kind of turns and it brings it like a standard drawing view where it's looking straight on, all right? At this point, what I want you to do is create a triangle, or sorry, a rectangle, and 2 point is fine. So you click on this one over here. And when you come over here, I want you actually to come right into where that 0, 0, that center mark, that black and white little center mark. And the reason is I'll just draw something out here. So I'll just like not put it there, okay? The problem with doing this is I can actually take this and start to move this thing around and change it and kind of move the whole thing around, okay? And that's actually not a good thing to be able to do, okay? We want to be able to keep sketches what we call constrained. So we want to keep them to a certain size, all right? Now, you know that we're making it 20 by 20, so you could just go like this, okay? And you'll be happy. It's 20 by 20, which is great. But I'm just going to kind of just take a random rectangle at this point, and I'm going to make it or force it to be square. So the first thing I want you to show you is because I clicked on the center for the first point of my rectangle, that means that that corner is actually secured right there at what we call the origin. And you notice that the vertical line here and the horizontal line is black. These two are not black, they're blue. What that means, if I just hit the escape key, it gets out of my latest command, I can actually resize this triangle, or sorry, I keep saying triangle, resize this rectangle, but you'll notice that those two lines they get longer or shorter to make sure that it's still a rectangle, but they don't move. I can't physically move these up or down, okay? That's exactly what I want. So what I want to do right now is I want to create, because we want it 20 by 20, right? So I'm going to go here to dimension, sketch dimension, click on one of these lines, then click on one of these lines, and then click a third time somewhere above and place it. That's what we call placing a dimension. At this point, I'm going to go to my keyboard and put in 20, because we're working in millimeters. 20 is 20 millimeters. and you'll notice that it shrinks it down to 20. Now I do have to do the same thing. Now that tool, sketch dimension, is still active because I haven't pressed the escape key. So I can actually keep dimensioning. And I'm going to click and then third click, place the dimension and put in 20 again. Now you'll notice at this point, I'll just zoom in, we have a perfect square. I know it took a lot to draw that perfect square, but it's important that you go through this procedure every time to create a sketch, okay? You'll notice this perfect square, 20 by 20, and you'll also notice that all the lines are black, which means the sketch is fully constrained. So I can't, now if I hit the escape key and try to grab one of these corners, it doesn't allow me to actually move any geometry. So it's fully constrained, it's good to go. So at this point, we can go here to the green check mark and say finish sketch, and we'll finish the sketch, and you'll notice it's just sitting there. Now here's your first command that I'm going to use. You may have seen me zoom in and zoom out. So let's go through a little bit on how to actually zoom in, zoom out, orbit or rotate, and then pan. So I have a roller ball mouse. You do need a mouse. Okay, a trackpad does work, but it's a little harder to work with a trackpad. So CAD software, 3D design software, you basically need a 3-button mouse. Okay, if you don't have one, we can get you one at the school. Just come and see me. I'll figure something out. I'll give you one that's been hanging around. We can get them to you. Okay, it's not the end of the world. But if you can get one or you have one at home, even better. Anyways, so how do you actually zoom in and zoom out? So let's start with that one. Zoom in and zoom out is literally the middle mouse button. If you have a roller, that's how you do that. So the middle mouse button is a roll with the roller. Okay. To pan, I could click the middle mouse button and then actually go left to right, up and down. So that's what we call a pan. So good. We know how to zoom, we know how to pan, which is really important. Now I want to show you how to rotate. So you can grab this box, okay, in the top right corner, click on one of the corners, grab it with your first mouse button and start to rotate it. Okay, you can do that. That's not a problem. But it's always hard to go up there all the time, right? It's a lot of extra work to go and grab one of these corners and start to rotate. It's a bit tedious, right? So what I want you to do is hit the shift key or hold the shift key, and then with your middle mouse button, like you were panning, now actually rotate. And this is super cool to get used to doing this. Okay, so you can see the origin is still there. You can see the X and Y axis. Yep, that all looks good. And I'm just going to create sort of this 3-dimensional view. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It can be kind of almost like, you know, almost sort of just on a little side view like that, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude this. And we want a perfect cube that's 20 by 20 by 20. So when we hit extrude, what it's doing is it's taking that sketch, and it's like a cookie maker. It's kind of cut that out, and it's going to take that profile and make a solid out of it for whatever distance you tell. So in this case, I'm going to say I want to go a distance of 20 millimeters. So in distance, I hit 20, and I want to create a new body. Okay, so it's going to just create a new part. So there you go. There's your cube. All right. Very easy. You can start rotating. You can pan. You can rotate. Okay, and look around your cube and get used to the commands of going around. All right, folks. So there's the first making a cube, and I'll be back online here in a second to show you how to add all the sides.